My mother looked me in the eye across the table and said, "We're replacing you," then pulled out the chair next to her for my cousin Ashley. If you have ever been erased by your own family, subscribe and tell me where you are watching from, because you will understand every word of what comes next. My name is Claire. I am 32 years old. For the past 18 months, I worked remotely as a healthcare billing coordinator while caring for my father through stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The day that changed everything was March 9th, 2024, my birthday, at Rosario's Italian restaurant on Maple Avenue. I thought I was walking into a small family dinner. Instead, I walked into an ambush. But before I tell you what happened that night, you need to understand the pattern. This was not new. This was the crescendo of a lifetime. When I was 14, my mother forgot to pick me up from a regional science fair where I placed second in the state. I waited outside the convention center for 2 hours. When she finally answered her phone, she said she had been at Ashley's dance recital. Ashley is my cousin, my mother's sister's daughter, and she has always been the sun in my mother's sky. I took the city bus home that night. My trophy rode on my lap. My father met me at the door and took me out for milkshakes. He told me he was proud of me. My mother never mentioned it again. At 21, I graduated summa cum laude from state with a degree in health administration. My mother showed up 17 minutes late to the ceremony and spent the lunch afterward showing everyone photos of Ashley's semester in Paris. Ashley had dropped out of 2 colleges by then, but she looked good in front of the Eiffel Tower, and that was what mattered to my mother. Appearances always mattered more than accomplishments. My father noticed. He always noticed. He would catch my eye across the table and give me this small nod that said, "I see you." I know, that nod kept me afloat for years. So when he was diagnosed in September 2022, there was never a question about who would step up. My mother had left him 8 years earlier for a condo in Scottsdale with her book club boyfriend, Richard. They were still married on paper but separated in every sense that mattered. She sent a card when Dad got his diagnosis. It had a sunset on it and a printed message about strength. She signed it with just her first name, Linda. I moved into Dad's house that October. I converted the downstairs guest room into a hospital room. I scheduled every oncology appointment, every scan, every hospice nurse visit. I held the phone to his ear when he was too weak to lift it. I learned to clean a PCC line and crush medications and monitor oxygen levels. My mother called twice in 18 months. Once to ask if Dad had updated his will. Once to ask if I could mail her some tax documents from 2015. She did not come for Christmas. She did not come when he was moved to Comfort Care in January. She did not come when the hospice nurse told me we were looking at weeks, not months. But she came for my birthday. I should have known something was wrong when she texted me on March 7th, asking where I wanted to have dinner. She had not acknowledged my birthday in 4 years. I told myself maybe Dad's illness had shifted something in her. Maybe she was finally stepping up, even if it was late. I was so tired. I wanted to believe it. Dad had passed 11 days earlier, on February 27, 2024 at 4:16 a.m. I was holding his hand. My mother did not come to the funeral. She sent flowers, white lilies, the kind you order online and never see in person. The card said, "Thinking of you." I was still living in his house, surrounded by medical equipment I did not know how to return, and bills I did not know how to parse. I was the executor of his estate, a role he had given me 3 years earlier when he updated his will. He had told me then, "You are the one who shows up, Claire. That matters." So when my mother suggested dinner, I thought maybe, finally, she wanted to talk about the estate, about the house, about us. I got to Rosario's at 7 p.m. on March 9th. My mother was already seated in a corner booth. And next to her, laughing, glass of wine in hand, was Ashley. I stopped 3 feet from the table. My mother looked up and smiled, the same bright hostess smile she used at parties. "There she is," my mother said. "Sit down, Claire. We have so much to discuss." Ashley stood and hugged me. She smelled like expensive perfume, something French and warm. She said, "Happy birthday, babe. You look exhausted." I sat. A waiter brought me water. I ordered it myself because no one else acknowledged him. My mother folded her hands on the table. She was wearing the opal ring my father had given her on their 20th anniversary. I had not seen it on her finger in a decade. "I wanted us all to be together tonight," she said, "because we are family, and family has to communicate during transitions." I thought she meant Dad's death. I thought she was finally ready to acknowledge what I had been through. I was wrong. "Ashley is moving back to town," my mother said. "She is going to be taking over a lot of the family responsibilities. I think it is time for you to step back and let someone else carry the weight for a while." I blinked. "What family responsibilities?" My mother waved a hand. "The estate. The house. All of it. You have been through so much, Claire, and you have done your best. But you are not equipped to handle something this complex. Ashley has experience in property management." Ashley jumped in. "I just finished a certification course online. And honestly, Claire, you look like you need a break. Let me take this off your plate." I felt something cold slide down my spine. Dad made me the executor. It is legally my responsibility. My mother's smile thinned. Legal does not mean capable. Your father was not thinking clearly at the end. We all know that. I have already spoken to a lawyer about contesting the will if necessary, but I am hoping we can do this as a family. The word family landed like a slap. "You were not there," I said quietly. "You were not there for any of it." "I was dealing with my own grief in my own way," my mother said. Her voice had that practiced sympathy, the kind she used when she wanted to sound reasonable. "But now I'm here and I am ready to help." Ashley is ready to help. "We are replacing you in this role, Claire, so you can rest." There it was. "We are replacing you." Ashley reached across the table and patted my hand. "You have done enough. Really. Let us handle it from here." I looked at my mother. She was not grieving. She was calculating. I could see it in the way she held her shoulders, the way she glanced at Ashley for confirmation. This was not about helping me. This was about the house. Dad's house was worth $470,000. It sat on a double lot in a neighborhood that had been rezoned for commercial development. It was an asset, and my mother wanted it. And she wanted to cut me out. I pulled my hand back from Ashley. I stood up. "I need to use the restroom," I said. I walked to the back hallway and locked myself in a stall. I sat on the closed toilet lid and opened my phone. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped it. I pulled up the folder I had labeled Dad Legal in my cloud drive. Everything was there: the will, the power of attorney documents I had held since 2021, the medical bills, the hospice invoices. And then I saw it. The bill I had been putting off because I did not have the bandwidth to face it yet. The final hospice invoice: 4 months of in-home care, nursing, medication management, durable medical equipment, and bereavement support. Total balance due? $183,400. Insurance had covered some. Dad's Medicare had covered more. But the gap, the portion that fell to the estate, the portion that fell to whoever was responsible, was $67,200. I was the executor. I was the one who had signed the hospice intake forms. But I had signed them as his power of attorney, acting on his behalf. The financial responsibility clauses were complicated. I had read them with the hospice billing manager, a woman named Joanne, who had walked me through every line. She had told me then, "If the estate cannot cover it, we will work with the responsible party. But make sure you understand who that is before you sign anything else." I had not signed anything else. But my mother was still legally married to my father. And under state law, a surviving spouse could be held liable for medical debt incurred during the marriage if the estate was insufficient. I opened my email. I found Joanne's contact information. I started typing. "Joanne, this is Claire Hollis. My father, David Hollis, passed on February 27th. I am the executor of his estate. I have a question about the financial responsibility for the final hospice bill. Specifically, I want to confirm whether spousal liability applies in cases of legal separation. My mother, Linda Hollis, was my father's legal spouse at the time of his death. They were separated but never divorced. Please call me Monday morning. This is urgent. I hit send. Then I walked back to the table. My mother and Ashley were laughing about something. They barely looked up when I sat down. Feeling better? My mother asked. Much, I said. I stayed for exactly 22 more minutes. I ordered nothing. I listened to my mother outline her plan for selling the house, for splitting the proceeds, for giving me a small portion because, as she put it, you did spend time there after all. She said it like I had been house-sitting, like I had not watched my father die. When the check came, my mother slid it toward me. You can get this, right? Consider it our birthday gift letting you treat us. I paid. I left a 20% tip because the waiter had done nothing wrong. I walked out of that restaurant and sat in my car for 10 minutes, staring at the dashboard. Then I drove home to Dad's house, the house that was legally mine to manage, and I started building what I would later call Operation Final Accounting. The next morning, Sunday, March 10th, I made coffee in Dad's kitchen and opened my laptop at the table where he used to sit and do crossword puzzles. I pulled every document I had: the will, the trust paperwork, the separation agreement from 2016, the hospice contract. I read the separation agreement twice. My parents had divided assets but had never filed for divorce. My mother had wanted to stay on Dad's health insurance. He had agreed because he was kind and because he did not think it mattered. It mattered now. At 9:14 a.m., my phone rang. It was Joanne from Hospice Billing. Claire, she said. I got your email. I am sorry I am calling on a Sunday, but I wanted to catch you before this gets more complicated. Thank you, I said. I need to know if my mother is liable for the balance. Joanne was quiet for a moment. Then she said, she is. They were legally married. Under state law, a surviving spouse is responsible for medical debt if the estate is insufficient. You can transfer the billing responsibility to her if you can provide a copy of the marriage certificate and proof that she is the surviving spouse. The estate can cover part of it, I said, but not all. Dad's assets are mostly tied up in the house, and liquidating that will take time. Then yes, Joanne said. We can work with her directly. Do you want me to send you the transfer forms? Yes, I said, please. She emailed them to me 14 minutes later. I filled them out at that table. I attached a copy of my parents' marriage certificate, a copy of Dad's death certificate, and a copy of the separation agreement that proved they were still legally married. I submitted the forms at 11:03 a.m. Joanne called me back that afternoon. We have received everything. The account will be updated by end of business Monday. Linda Hollis will receive a billing statement by March 15th. Thank you, I said. Claire, Joanne said, and her voice was softer. I do not know what is happening in your family, but your dad was lucky to have you. I saw you every week for 4 months. You showed up. That is not nothing. I cried after I hung up. Not sad crying. Releasing crying. Then I called my best friend Morgan. Morgan is a paralegal. She had been my sounding board through every terrible stage of Dad's illness. I told her what happened at the restaurant. I told her what I had just done. Morgan was quiet for 3 seconds. Then she said, Claire, that is the most perfectly legal thing I have ever heard. Your mother is trying to take an estate she did not earn, and you just handed her the bill for the care she never gave. I am buying you a drink. I do not know if this makes me a bad person, I said. It makes you a person with boundaries, Morgan said. There is a difference. That week I moved forward on 2 tracks. Track 1 was the estate. I contacted Dad's attorney, a man named Richard Lowe who had known my father for 30 years. I explained that my mother was attempting to contest the will. I sent him screenshots of her texts and a written summary of the birthday dinner. Mr. Lowe scheduled a meeting for March 14th. He told me to bring every piece of documentation I had. Track 2 was quiet preparation. I compiled a folder of every receipt, every medical record, every single piece of proof that I had been the sole caregiver. I had 18 months of records. Pharmacy receipts, mileage logs from driving Dad to appointments, photos I had taken of the hospital bed setup, the medication schedule on the whiteboard, the hospice nurse sign-in sheets. I also had text messages. I scrolled back through my entire conversation history with my mother. In 18 months, she had sent 42 messages. Most were about documents she needed or questions about Dad's assets. 3 were about his health. 0 were asking how I was doing. I screenshotted all of it. On March 13th, my mother called me. I let it go to voicemail. She left a message. "Claire, this is your mother. I need you to send me the keys to the house and copies of all the estate paperwork by the end of the week. Ashley is moving in on April 1st so she can start managing things. Call me back." I did not call her back. Instead, I texted her. "I am the executor of Dad's estate. The will is valid and filed with the probate court. No one is moving into the house until the estate is settled. That is the law. If you want to contest the will, you can do that through your attorney. Do not contact me about this again unless it is through legal channels." She responded in under a minute. "You are being selfish and cruel. Your father would be ashamed of you." I blocked her number. The next day, March 14th, I met with Mr. Lowe at his office on 4th Street. He was 71, silver-haired and sharp as a knife. He had been at Dad's funeral. He had hugged me and told me, "David was proud of you every day." I sat across from him and laid out the folder. He paged through it slowly. "Your mother has no standing to contest this will," he said after 20 minutes. "Your father was of sound mind. The will was updated 3 years ago, witnessed and notarized. You have documentation of your role as caregiver and power of attorney." She was absent. "Even if she files, it will be dismissed." "She is going to try," I said. "Let her try," Mr. Lowe said. "It will cost her attorney fees and get her nothing." Then he leaned back in his chair. "There is something else you should know. Your father came to see me in January, about 6 weeks before he passed. He wanted to make sure everything was airtight. He told me your mother might surface after he was gone. He said, and I quote, 'She will not come for me, but she will come for the house. Make sure Claire is protected.'" My throat went tight. "He said that." "He did. And he made sure you were protected. The house goes to you, Claire. Outright. No split. No contest. It is in the trust paperwork. She gets nothing from the estate except what is legally required as a surviving spouse, which in this case is nothing, because the separation agreement waived her rights." "What about debts?" I asked. "If they were still married, is she responsible for any of his debts?" Mr. Lowe tilted his head. "Medical debts incurred during the marriage?" "Yes. If the estate is insufficient, creditors can pursue a surviving spouse." "Why?" I told him about the hospice bill. He smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was a lawyer's smile. "That is poetic," he said. "On March 15th, my mother received the hospice bill. I know because she called me from a number I did not recognize at 6:42 p.m. I answered because I did not recognize it. She was screaming before I could say hello. "What did you do?" she shouted. "I just got a bill for $67,000 from a hospice company. They said you transferred it to my name. You had no right." "I had every right," I said. My voice was calm. I was standing in Dad's kitchen holding a mug of tea. "You were his legal wife. You are liable for medical debt under state law. I am the executor, and I made sure the bill went to the correct party." "You vindictive little witch!" she hissed. "I will sue you. I will take everything." "You can try," I said. "But you should know that Dad's estate is airtight. I met with his attorney yesterday. The will is valid. You have no claim to the house or any assets, and the hospice bill is legally yours. If you do not pay it, they will pursue collections. That will go on your credit report." There was silence. Then she said, "He was my husband." "Then you should have acted like his wife," I said. "You should have been there." She hung up. 2 hours later, Ashley texted me. "Claire, I do not know what is happening, but your mom is freaking out. She said you are trying to ruin her. I do not want to be in the middle of this. I am backing out of the house thing. This is too much drama," I wrote back. "Good choice." Over the next 2 weeks, my mother tried 4 more tactics. Tactic 1, she sent her boyfriend Richard to the house. I did not let him in. I told him through the Ring camera that he was trespassing and I would call the police if he did not leave. He left. Tactic 2. She tried to report me to the probate court for mismanagement. Mr. Lowe handled it with a single letter outlining my meticulous records and her complete absence. The complaint was dismissed. Tactic 3. She called the hospice billing department and claimed I had committed fraud. Joanne called me to let me know. She said, "We have verified everything. The transfer was legal and appropriate. She is responsible." We told her that, and we told her if she continues to harass our staff, we will refer her to collections immediately. Tactic 4. She showed up at Dad's house on March 30th with a locksmith. I was home. I opened the door before the locksmith could do anything. My mother stood on the porch, arms folded. The locksmith, a young guy in a company polo, looked uncomfortable. "I am changing the locks," my mother said. "This is my house." "No," I said. "It is not. I am the executor, and the house is part of the estate. You have no legal right to enter or change anything. If you try, I will call the police." The locksmith looked at me. "Do you have documentation?" I handed him a copy of the will, the trust paperwork, and the probate court filing. He read it, then looked at my mother. "Ma'am, I cannot help you. She is the legal executor. You need a court order." My mother's face went red. "You are making a mistake," she said to me. "No," I said. "I am doing exactly what Dad asked me to do." She left. The locksmith apologized and left. I closed the door and locked it. That night, I sat at the kitchen table with a glass of water and Dad's old watch, the one I had worn since the day he died. It was a simple Timex with a leather band, worn soft from years of use. I ran my thumb over the watch face and let myself feel everything. The anger, the grief, the relief. I had protected what mattered. I had honored him. 6 weeks later, on May 10, 2024, the estate cleared probate. The house was officially mine. I sold it 3 weeks after that for $485,000. After settling the remaining estate debts and taxes, I walked away with $392,000. I used some of it to pay off my student loans. I used some to put a down payment on a small condo with a window that gets morning light. I put the rest in savings. My mother never paid the hospice bill. It went to collections in July. I do not know what happened after that, and I do not ask. Ashley sent me a message in August. She said, "I am sorry about everything. I did not understand what was really happening. Your mom told me you were overwhelmed and needed help." I did not know she was lying. I wrote back, "Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. But I need space from this whole situation right now." She responded with a heart emoji. We have not spoken since. Morgan and I had that drink in September. We sat on a patio under string lights, and she raised her glass. "To showing up," she said. "To showing up," I repeated. My mother and I have not spoken since the locksmith incident. I do not plan to reach out. I do not plan to reconcile. She made her choices for decades, and I have made mine. I keep Dad's watch on my nightstand. Every morning when I wake up, I see it, and I remember what he told me. You are the one who shows up. That matters. It turns out he was right. If someone in your life has ever tried to erase your sacrifice or your worth, drop a comment and tell me where you are watching from. And if this story meant something to you, subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear that boundaries are not cruel. Boundaries are survival.